Hello. So before I begin, I just want to give my thanks to God, the universe, my spirit team, my ancestors, and the spiritual guides who have been guiding me throughout my spiritual journey. I really appreciate you. So today I want to talk about the concept of rest, and because for the last few days I have been almost in like hibernation mode. I didn't want to go out, I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to do things because I always have this issue of thinking that if I'm not productive, then I'm not worthy, or I need to be productive in order to feel good. And that's a pattern that was kind of like my higher self, I guess, kind of pointed that out to me quite a long time ago, about a month ago, and it's something I've been working on consciously. But until now, I haven't really got to a stage where I could actually relax. I was always in survival mode until now because I've been worried about fighting the constant spiritual battles, also all the financial issues that were thrown at me, all the abuse that was thrown at me, also the fact that I didn't have a place to stay, I didn't have money, and all of those things kept me in survival mode, even though I knew I needed to get out of that. But obviously I had to wait to get to a better stage before I could really get out of it. And for the last week or so, I have been dead. Like, my body just doesn't want to do anything. Like, if I do a little bit of anything, like I've been studying astrology, but even that, for the last couple of days, I haven't touched it because even the thought of doing something has been so exhausting. But then also, even when I was resting, I couldn't rest. I was just kind of thinking about, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should be blah 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 blah, even though another part of me was saying, no, you need to rest. You've been through a lot, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Like, you've been through a lot. You need to be more compassionate to yourself, and you need to let yourself rest. But even then, it was just like a constant battle. And in the end, I actually ended up Googling, what did I Google? Hold on, let me just, it was something like, why do I feel weird to rest, or something like that. Something like, why do I feel like, why don't I feel okay to rest, or something along those lines. I can't remember now, and and it was basically about my nervous system being so used to the survival mode, being in fight and flight all the time because of the way I grew up. And also, I mean, in general, it's always been like that. And also, recently, that's been amped up because I genuinely have been in survival mode, whether that's emotional and spiritual warfare, or, just the fact that I was spending the night cold outside, shivering. Physically, I felt it as well. And sorry. So what I'm saying is, it was because my body is so used to the survival mode that it reacts to peace with discomfort. Even like, I even felt bored at some stages, but at the same time, I didn't have energy to do anything to alleviate my boredom. I mean, if I'm bored, usually I would, do something that stimulates me intellectually, but then I couldn't even bring myself to do that. And then I got some messages saying, you asked for peace. This is what peace feels like. Don't mistake peace for boredom. And that was a bit of an eye-opener for me, because I was like, oh, so this is what peace feels like. I didn't know that. And my nervous system was so used to the constant chaos, constantly being in fight or flight mode, that it actually reacted to rest with discomfort. And sort of also looking back over my childhood, I always felt that. I mean, when I was resting, I was made to feel like I was being lazy, or I should be doing stuff. And that's not just me. Even my mother, I think, had the same issue. She couldn't rest because she felt that discomfort with rest. And I think that's also to do with her own issues with being in survival mode all the time. And and she also kind of made me feel like if I shouldn't rest, you know, even sort of made just, even if she didn't say it explicitly, if I was sitting down because I'm exhausted, I just want to rest, or even if I didn't feel exhausted, if I just felt like resting, the fact that she's flitting around doing stuff would make me feel like, oh, I'm just sitting here and she's working, so I would get up to go to help, because that's how I am. And you know, that kind of I'm just realizing how toxic that is, because rest shouldn't be something that you only do when your body literally says, okay, stop, I can't keep going. And that's actually a bad thing, because I was reading about it yesterday after I looked it up. I was reading about it, it was fascinating. And it just said stuff like if you equate, that's part of the problem. If you push your body to that point before you rest, then you associate rest with something bad, you know, because your body is feeling bad. So you're conditioned to believe that rest is bad. So that kind of makes that cycle worse. Rest is something that you need to be incorporating regularly into your routine, you know? And I have actually pushed my body to its absolute, and mind to its absolute limit. Some of it not my fault, but some of it, yes, I have to take responsibility, because I believe that I have to be doing things in order to feel worthy, because I always felt in my family that I had to earn my place, and that's kind of been the conditioning, the programming that I'm consciously trying to break out of right now. Or I have been doing that for a while now. I'm still not completely out of it, but it's a work in progress, because it's not going to happen overnight. You know, you need to consciously put in effort every day, every moment. And a lot of it's about having compassion towards yourself. And as empaths especially, that's something you struggle with too, because you feel other people's emotions much more than you feel your own. Or like I even when I'm thinking about someone who hurt me, and if I hear that they've been in pain, my first reaction is to think, oh, they're in pain, I want to help them. And I don't even, at that moment, what they've done to me, the pain they've inflicted on me, is kind of, that doesn't even matter to me anymore. And that's not a good place to be in, because their pain is their problem. And it's not heartless to think like that. It's actually, most normal people think like that. They don't take on other people's pain, but empaths do take on other people's pain. And especially if you're like me, you kind of don't even think about your own pain and what they've done to you, and you just feel that pain a lot more acutely than you do your own. And I think that's why I need regular time away from everyone, because I can't switch off that part of me that always feels other people's pain and takes that pain on. So I need time to kind of get away and recharge in solitude. And that's not personal, that's just, you know, a lot of people take that personally, but it's not personal. It's just the fact that I feel, even if you don't say it, I can feel the pain, that and it gets overwhelming sometimes. gets overwhelming a lot of the time. And then when those people, the same people that I try so hard to help, that I feel so bad for, when I realize that they don't even have like a small percentage of the same empathy towards me, it kind of breaks that connection. Like, I can't feel the same way about that person anymore, because I feel like it's an unequal relationship, because I'm pouring in and getting almost nothing in return, and all I'm doing is depleting my own supply so much so that I can't even give to myself. And that's a lesson I've had to learn, where I need to learn to give to myself first before I give to others. And that's been difficult, and it's a lesson I'm committed to learning. And I think the best way to, like, an analogy just popped into my head. It's a medical analogy, so forgive me, but it is very relevant. So in the heart, the blood supply to the heart is through the coronary vessels, and they're embedded in the walls of the heart itself. And if you don't perfuse those, I mean, this is how a heart attack happens, when those arteries get clogged up. But basically, every time your heart relaxes, it allows those, no, sorry, not every time your heart relaxes. Yeah, sorry. It relaxes, it allows the filling of those vessels, so that the heart gets its own supply. And the heart, that happens first before it then pumps out into the body. And that's an evolutionary thing, it's necessary, because if you don't supply the heart, if the heart dies because it doesn't get enough oxygen, then the rest of the body is screwed, right? And it's kind of like that. You need to give to yourself first before you give to other people. And if you ever feel like you have to be like that. So yeah, I kind of took a diversion there, but I was gonna say about rest and how important it is. And that can be in any way you like, whatever feels like rest to you, do it regularly. Don't wait till you're burned out before you rest. And even if it feels uncomfortable to rest, because you may feel like I do, I feel so restless and I feel like I should be doing this, I should be doing that. But don't have compassion for yourself. Know that when your body, it's also about being preventative rather than curing. So even like in medicine, that's something you learn, that it's you should try to prevent disease before it happens. And I think that applies here, because when you wait till you're burnt out to rest, then you're just curing something. And often it takes longer, it takes more out of you. And I don't know, in general, it just makes it worse. It makes it harder to cure. But if you actually give yourself that rest regularly, it really, really helps. It really makes sure that you don't get to that stage of complete burnout, because that's not a nice place to be in, honestly. And if anyone ever makes you kind of feel guilty about taking that rest, then don't recognize that that's toxic. If someone is trying to make you feel guilty about resting, that's toxic. You need to listen to yourself, your body. What are some tips that I can share to make sure you put that rest in your schedule? Yeah, put the rest in your schedule, because that's something that helped me actually, because as you may know, I did my master's in psychology alongside the last 2 years of my medical degree. And that was, so tough, and I really had to really push myself to do that. But I made a sort of deal with myself that on a Sunday I don't do anything. I don't study, I don't do anything except stuff that I find enjoyable. That might be watching a movie, that might be listening to music, that might be exercising, that might be I don't know, doing cross stitch, writing like my book, reading, whatever it is, cooking, whatever you enjoy, that you find restful, that you usually only do when you don't have work to do, those things, and putting that in every day. Oh, sorry, every once, at least once, one day a week, if you have that helps. You can also have 1 hour every day. Like, have 1 day a week. I would highly recommend having at least 1 day a week where you do that. But also have like an hour every day, or a couple of hours, like minimum an hour, where you just give yourself permission to relax without any guilt. Because it doesn't work if you feel guilty and you're resting, because that's not rest. That's just you not getting any rest, but also not getting any work done, and you're just torturing yourself with guilt. And that, I've done that so many times, so trust me, that's not helpful. That's really bad for your body, because you're actually putting it into fight or flight, because you're stressing it out. It would be, I mean, it's that kind of thing of you know, your body's saying I don't want to, but your brain is saying but you should. And that's why it's good to schedule it, you know, like you schedule health appointments, like you schedule, I don't know, your morning routine in the bathroom, you know, those are necessary things. And I think rest should be one of those necessary things that you are strict with yourself about. And during that time, and because you're scheduling it in, because you have like an hour a day or 1 day a week of that, then you don't need to feel guilty, because because what happens usually is when you do that, your productivity during the non-rest times increases. And that's what I found. So because I was strict with myself that on a Sunday I won't work, what I used to do is so Monday to Thursday I would be devoted to medicine, you know, doing everything, you know, going to going to the hospital, then coming home and studying, doing questions, all of that. Then Friday, yeah, I didn't have a social life because I gave it up for this. I'm glad I did, because at least now I didn't have to give up on a career that I actually feel passionate about. So because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have. So I don't regret anything that I've done so far, because I feel like it's made me the person who I am today, and regret doesn't change anything. You know, you need to look at those things as lessons, because regret is useless. It's a waste of time. Whatever I went through, I learned from it, and I apply it to my life so that I can be better, more evolved, better person. I can do better. So sorry about that little reel there. So what I was saying is, so yeah, from Friday night to all of Saturday night, until as long as it took, was devoted to my psychology. And because I knew I wasn't allowed to do anything on a Sunday, I knew I had to finish what I need to finish during the day, those 2 days. And that worked pretty well. That incentive, I'm giving myself that incentive, because if I didn't do that, what would happen is I would have the entire weekend. I would be like, okay, Friday night, Saturday night, Friday night till Sunday night, I have time for this. And I would just, you know, when I didn't need, I would procrastinate. I still procrastinate, but you know, sometimes that's necessary too. But my point is that that would mean that I would end up getting no rest, and it would take me longer to do the work that I need to do. Whereas in this way, because I was giving myself Sunday off, I was more productive in the time that I wasn't working. I was working because I had this incentive. And in general, I do that. I give myself little incentives, like if I know I'm going on holiday, or if I know a friend is going to be there, and I know that weekend or those 2 weeks I need to be I want to be free. I don't want to be working during that time. So that gives me more motivation and incentive to finish or reach my goals beforehand. Like, for example, during Christmas time, I didn't want to do any work. I wanted to just enjoy Christmas, family, everything. And that's what I did. So I made sure that I put in the work I needed to put in beforehand so that I can have that time off. I hope this makes sense. I feel like I'm a bit rambling a bit. And it went in directions that I wasn't really planning on going, but I think it's relevant because it's important to have those practical tips about scheduling rest, and also to not feel guilty about resting. That's really, really important. And also during those times, if all you do is lie on your bed and scroll on your phone, please don't feel guilty about that. Please don't feel like, this is my rest time. I should be doing things I enjoy that I wouldn't have time for otherwise. No. Do what your body is telling you to do. Because this is what I was going through. I was like, oh, I really like learning about astrology. I really want to get started on this book, but my body just wouldn't let me. It just was like, no. Not. I know you enjoy it, I know you're bored, but no, you just need to rest. And that actually meant like taking several naps throughout the day, where I went into like zombie mode. I think I spend more time asleep than I was awake for the last couple of days. I just felt like complete zombie. But after reading this, I was like, you know what, this is something I need to learn. So I made even though it was uncomfortable, I made myself, because I knew also, because it's also like it made me think about depression, because this is how I feel when I'm depressed. But then I watched a post about how depression is actually deep rest. So it's probably, I don't even know if it's a medical condition anymore, because it's when your body literally screaming, or your soul, not your body, your soul is screaming out for deep rest, deep rest. That was really clever, I thought. That was someone else's post. Anyway, what I'm saying is, and I had to learn this because I've been struggling with depression for 13 years now. Yeah, sometimes 13 years. And over time, I kind of had to learn that when I'm going through those periods of depression, I need to be compassionate with myself and let myself do nothing. And sometimes that wasn't always possible. So because with the pressures of my family, and what I used to do is actually like open my laptop and just read a book on it. And to look like I was working, because I didn't want to be, because what happens if I don't. Another thing that drives me crazy is when I have these times of rest that I've actually scheduled for myself, my family think that's a good time to give me things to do. Because I'm not studying, they think, oh, she's not studying, so she can do this, and this for me. And that's so deeply unfair, because I'm taking a rest because I worked to give myself this rest, and now you're asking me to do more. You're like things like paying bills or doing administrative things. That's not really my job, but I did it because I loved them, because because I was like that, and I felt like they struggle with online stuff. But the thing is, they don't struggle when it comes to doing things that they want to do secretively, if you see what I mean, without me there kind of needing to what I'm saying is like it's only because I'm convenient, and it's easy for them to push those tasks onto me, so they do that. So that really irritated me and made me feel like this is so unfair, that I've worked extra hard so that I can have this rest, and now you're giving me extra work to do because you see that I'm not working. And early on, when I was still struggling with the shame and the everything, but I felt unable to work. This is what I used to do. I used to just open my laptop, and I had like the Kindle reading app, and I would just read a book, and it looks like I was working because they can't tell what I'm doing. It's a bit sneaky, but I did what I did to survive, I guess. But what I'm saying is, during those times of depression, I felt, but the thing is, once I get through those, however long it took, sometimes it was a week, sometimes it could be longer, sometimes it could be a few days, but if I actually let myself rest, if I don't feel the constant guilt and add to that, kind of add to my stress, I usually once I get out of it, what happens is I usually become so productive that I do everything so quickly. Like I go at super speed. I have cycles of this deep rest and cycles where I'm so incredibly productive. So I'm starting to realize, I actually read something else about this cyclical nature, and it's also kind of about the phoenix and the phoenix rising, and that called to me because that's how it happens. You burn down, but then you rise up, and that is just how I am. That's not how most people are. So they tried to kind of fit me into a box and made me think that, oh, this is how you need to be. But I don't need to be like that. I need to be how I am, because what I do, no one else can do. And that's not arrogance. I'm just saying I have a set of unique talents and perspectives that other people don't, because everyone is unique in their own way. And I need to be free to be who I am and how I am without having to feel like I need to fit into someone else's mold. And that's why this whole 9-to-5 job thing won't work for me, because because I have these cycles where I will be depressed, where I won't be able to get up and go to work. I will make myself do it, but it will be very difficult for me, and I will be miserable, and it won't be good for my health. And then there'll be other times where I'm so hyper focused and hyper productive, and I'll feel confined by this job where I have to spend time on things that I'm not passionate about. So I have to have my own schedule. I have to work on my own schedule. And that's just how I am. That's the best way to get the most productivity out of me. I just made myself sound like a workhorse there, but you know what I mean. You kind of have to play to your strengths. It's not about being like everyone else. It's about being you in the best way possible, so that you can give to the world what only you can give it. I think that's the best way to put it. I've rambled quite far from my original topic, but I think that's, channeling, when you do that, that's how it happens. Because I don't plan these out. I plan out, I just have, I find a topic that I want to talk about, then I run with it. I don't have any plans. That's why, you don't sometimes you don't have a post, sometimes you do. It's very, it's because I'm just going by my instincts and just listening to myself and not really going by any timetables, etc. I hope this was helpful. Please schedule rest, regular rest, not just resting when you're burned out, because this will prevent you getting to that point. Once a week, complete rest. Every day, an hour, minimum an hour of rest. That you can do, surely. Because whatever you think you can't do, think about why not. Is it because you're prioritizing other people? Because that's not a good way. You'll end up resenting them for it. It's not good. You need to pour into your own cup first before you pour into other people. Alright, bye. Until next time.